Planet Waterpark. If I had a nickel for every time someone desperately begged for a waterpark game in my comments, well, I'd have 112 nickels. Yes, I counted. So what is it that gets you lot giddy about a splishy splashy video game? As we all know, Roller Coaster Tycoon 3 had the Soaked DLC, adding pools, water rides and special path items, as well as new roller coasters, new shops, waterfalls, water shows, tunnels and aquariums to the base game. I believe what ruffles people's feathers the most is that RCT3 was created by the same devs as Planet Coaster, so why didn't they just do it again? Instead, we're left with silly little DLCs like Back to the Future that literally just lets you add the DeLorean to your park. Whilst I think the prospect of a standalone waterpark game sounds exciting, I wonder whether there would be enough content for a full game, hence Soaked just being an expansion pack. We also hit the famous issue of interoperability, or lack thereof, that already exists across the Planet franchise. Planco players want to add animals, and Zoo players want to add rides and coasters. If we had a Planet Waterpark, you know full well within a year people would be trying to find a way to add animals and rides. So, what's the solution to this? Well, realistically, I don't think there is one. In a perfect world, we would have one central Planet sandbox allowing you to bring in whatever assets you see fit, whether it be from coaster, zoo, waterpark, golf, the list goes on. However, we all know the Planet games aren't the most optimised, and unless they fancy moving from Cobra to Unreal Engine 5, I find it hard to believe their engine could handle a shared environment. On top of this, I can't imagine it makes financial sense for Frontier. They know that by making individual games, they can earn a heap more cash than one game with various downloadable content. And as much as we all love Frontier, they're still a business, and dollar bills are king. But back to the conversation at hand, am I saying a fully fledged waterpark game is out of the question? Absolutely not. In fact, with Frontier's track record, it's quite likely. What I think would be preferred, however, is a waterpark DLC to the eagerly anticipated Planet Coaster 2, along with other more fleshed out downloadable content. Whilst we currently have some cracking DLC like Adventure, Studios and Spooky, I think we could do without the blatant IP cash grabs like Monsters and Back to the Future. But what does my word mean? I'll tell you what, absolutely nothing. So I asked Planet Plipcam to join the conversation, as his word actually means something.
Thanks, Moo. Well, personally, I think that the successes of a waterpark in Planet Coaster or an entity in its own would definitely be due to the customization that we're so used to and accustomed to in Planet Coaster and Planet Zoo for that matter. And if there were to be such a stark difference from the piece-by-piece model that we have today, then it would likely disparage all of the work that has been achieved up to this point by Frontier to give the player the most freedom possible to express themselves in the game. I would like to think it's more of a case of hardwiring the features into a new title as an importantly planned inclusion, unlike the quickly closed down rumours of the original game including waterparks by the then community managers on Twitter. In terms of the logistics of this happening, well, the struggles of Frontier's dealings with water has hardly ever really been all too impressive, and if this ever was going to happen, then this would certainly have to be addressed. Without even wanting to mention how ugly water is in Planco, I see that zoo players still find digging trenches and filling them with water to unpredictable levels a real nuisance. Aquariums are looking more and more unlikely, with the deep diving being all that's available at this present moment, and as brought to my attention by multiple content creator analysts of the workings of Jurassic World Evolution 2, dinos literally have an archaic point-to-point, wall-to-wall swimming system. Waterparks are much more almost free-flowing in my opinion in terms of the movement of guests who mill around more than in theme parks, whether it be in pools or just generally relaxing. Unlike the restrictive style of the Soaked expansion pack to RCT3, they would have to open their eyes to the so-called attractions being much easier to access and transfer from. Whilst guests were not forced to get into pools solely by ladders, and they could actually dive in, we would require so much more in the terms of the work being done in Prehistoric Kingdom, where guests can traverse over the individual pieces and terrain, which in fairness is not too dissimilar from the animals in Planet Zoo, but I think it's definitely the transitions that they would really have to nail. And whilst the expected inclusions of weather and the likes of water treatment would be nice, guest AI in my eyes would be the deal breaker. We've seen the successes of the likes of the Soaked expansion pack, which ultimately may of course need refining, but I don't actually think that Frontier would have to reinvent the wheel from their first proper attempt at this.
Thank you Plip for taking the time to give your insight, an absolute pleasure to have you on the channel. If you're not already, make sure to go and sub to Planet Plipcam for top-notch Planco console content. He's very nearly at 1k, so let's help him get there. So, we've said our part, now it's time for you to say yours. Do you think we'll get any waterpark content from Frontier? What format will it take, and what features would you like to see? Let me know in the comments and I look forward to hearing your thoughts. Next week I'll be speaking to the lead designer of a cult classic from 2005 that's well overdue a sequel. Hope to see you then.